what's up, guys? This is Aaron Jordan, Mr. Know Your Worth himself. I'm a relationship coach, I'm an author, I'm a motivator. We're going to talk to real people that overcame real issues right here on Cafe Conversations. Hey guys, thank you for tuning in to Cafe Conversations with Mr. Know Your Worth. And guys, I'm so ecstatic about the guest that we have here today. She's the publisher and founder of Tennessee Minority Pages, which is one of our tier sponsors here for the show. We have Miss Tunisia Scott. How you doing today?
I am wonderful. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. High five. I really appreciate you taking our time out of your day to come here and spend with us. I know you had a million and one things to do, but I really appreciate you taking our time today, spend with us, have a conversation, and empower our audience with your story too as well.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm excited.
Oh yeah, awesome. So usually how I like to start out the show is like really want the audience to and viewers to know who we have on the show. Okay. So kind of give us a little background story of you, because a lot of times when you think about it, a lot of people see the right now or whatever, and see the glam and the glamour now, but they don't know the back end story. Okay. They don't know the journey. They don't know the hills and mountains we have to climb to get here. So give us a little information about yourself.
Well, as we both know, entrepreneurship is a journey.
Come on now.
And so I started this company 5 years ago.
Okay.
What happened is I acquired a 25-year-old publication. And upon acquiring that publication, I decided that I wanted to shift things and change it up. So I decided to create its predecessor. Wow. And in doing so, previously, the other company, I decided that I wanted to be more inclusive. Wow. And so I come from a multicultural, multi-ethnic background. My stepfather is Hispanic. I've lived all over the world because my parents were military. And if I ever looked for friends that looked like me, I would never have friends. Wow. So I wanted to make it more inclusive, hence the Tennessee Minority Pages. Wow. And a minority can literally be anyone.
Anyone, yeah. And I like that, because I mean, we've known each other for quite some time.
Yes.
And I've seen the growth for the magazine too as well. And I've seen the growth of where you first acquired it to like where it is now. But let's talk about how did you get to the point where you are now, and being what was the before story?
I come from a corporate background. And
corporate America,
yes, punching the clock, and every single day. And I would go into work, and I've always done well at any position that I held. And I went in every single day, and I just decided that I was tired of anyone dictating when I can be at functions with my kids, when I can go to lunch, when I can go to the restroom. So I decided that I wanted to step out and do something different. And someone put an opportunity on my plate. It was a multi-level marketing company, and I did very well at it. And I was able to triple my income of what I was doing corporately, and I walked away. Well, like most MLMs do, they have their highs and their lows, and that one ran its course, and so I needed to find something different, and I knew I didn't want to go back into anyone's office. Wow.
And that's amazing, because when you mentioned MLM, I started out in that too as well. Probably about 15 years ago, in that, and I met a lot of people in that space, in that industry. But there's a lot of, when you're trying to do entrepreneurship and you're trying to do some things for yourself, there's a lot of dark moments. There's a lot of moments where it takes a toll on you. It takes a toll on you having a social life. It takes a toll on you if your family and things like that. In the moment of you seeking entrepreneurship and you building this great entrepreneurial background and this empire, how has that played a toll on, like, far as you having self-doubt within yourself or your family life?
Well, family life, you have to have a supportive spouse. Wow. It's almost impossible to be an entrepreneur, a successful one, if your spouse doesn't support. Wow. And fortunately, my husband is phenomenal, and he supports me in everything that I do. He supports me in everything that I do. My children understand. 2 of them are grown, so they're 19 and 20. And then the 10-year-old, he understands as well. Yes, he's in college. Okay. And so they all understand, because it's a team effort, and all the time it's not easy. Wow. And so there are sacrifices. When you go from corporate America to entrepreneurship, it's almost like trading in 40 hours a week for 80.
That set schedule, that set routine too.
When you work for yourself, it's triple the time.
And so I know with me, when I was starting out in entrepreneurship or with MLM, I used that as a scapegoat to kind of like get away from my hurt, like get away from my pain and things of that nature. Because a lot of times we go through things, we don't like to talk about it, and especially with us men, we're not taught to bear our emotions. We're not taught to talk about our feelings because it's like some illusion of like, okay, well, you're not a man because you're being quote unquote soft. But the thing is that if we don't talk about it, if we don't talk about the hurt, or we don't talk about the pain, it's a lot of things that fester. And so in that instance, I used that particular industry to kind of be a scapegoat for me. We have that mask on.
Yes.
And when the lights and cameras on, we were smiling, we're shining, but at home I was depressed. And they called me quote unquote the relationship guy. So in that instance, in building your empire, how has that impacted or had any type of impact on relationships or your marriage for you too as well?
It's hard. I would be lying if I said it wasn't, because entrepreneurship is hard. If it was easy, everyone would do it.
If it was easy, everyone would do it. That's a tweetable.
It is. There is a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that go into projects. They're almost like your babies. And once you give birth to it, you're like, okay, now we can breathe, but you really can't. Now you set a standard. So how can you outdo the standard the next project or the next year?
Exactly.
So personal life, family life, everything at some point takes a hit. So it's just learning to balance and juggle. Okay, if this has taken too big of a hit, then I need to shift it to something different. But it's like a juggling act.
But I think oftentimes in that because a lot of people now, when they think about entrepreneurship, they think that they can balance everything. They go into it head first without a plan. And I think a lot of people don't think about the fact that you can really lose your family.
Oh, you
focusing
really can.
On the next dollar or the next deal.
You really
because
can.
The thing is that you kind of, in chasing that dream, you kind of sometimes forget about the small, minute things. I know for me, one of the things was when I relocated here to Middle Tennessee, it was in the mind frame of me thinking like, because me and my daughter, we had a very close relationship, very close. We still do. She's still daddy's girl. She always say, "Daddy, can you cash at me?"
Right.
That's a little thing. That's a little thing that they got going now. But the thing is that in that, I knew that when I relocated for a better opportunity, that it was going to be a sacrifice. And in that sacrifice, I knew that there was going to be some conversations that was going to have to be had too as well. And so in that, when I relocated, like I stated before, I was still going through my stuff, my mess. A lot of people don't like to talk about that mess, but I was going through my mess. And so in that, in you building your empire, what are some of the things that you were going through? Were you dealing with self-doubt or self-esteem issues or anything like that? Because the thing is, people are going through that right now that are looking to be entrepreneurs.
Well, I would say that the biggest thing is know that it's okay to find someone to talk to.
Wow.
That is so important.
A lot of people don't know that.
They don't. And sometimes you see the outer, you see the put together package, and you never see the behind the doors. And your family gets to see the behind the scenes.
The family, they get to see the
They
mask
do.
off.
So I like to say, I would say actually, to give you an example, the last year I decided to get me someone to talk to.
Wow.
And it was just a release for me, just someone to bounce it off of, because when you are the boss and you're used to being the boss, they think that the boss doesn't have to talk to anyone.
Doesn't have to talk to anyone.
And that's a myth.
Did you hear that? That's a myth.
To stay sane, the boss does need to talk to someone.
Because the thing is that, even though we're delegating things, we're, like you said, we're giving orders and we're putting responsibility on other people. But the thing is that we have to have that sigh of relief as well. To also, so let me ask you this question too. So in building, because you taking this magazine and building it to where it is now. I know you've crossed paths with a lot of people. How has those particular type of relationships hindered or had some toll on your growth?
A lot of lessons learned.
Yeah.
And sometimes the biggest lessons are the most painful.
Yeah.
People that you think that are in your corner,
Wow.
that show you that they're not. People that you think like you're willing to help and you're willing to assist even while you're, building your own brand, show you that they're not worthy of that.
Wow.
People who stab you in the back.
Wow.
And those were painful lessons.
I know it was.
But I wouldn't trade them because they were necessary.
Because it was necessary things you had to go through to get to where you are now.
And not even so much where I am now, where I'm going.
Where you going? Come on, we got to throw that in there. Where we're going?
Where we're going.
Come on now.
We're not there yet.
We're almost there. We're almost there. So in that, you mentioned something where people stabbing you in the back, and so in that, you have to deal with a lot of being able to forgive and move on. So how has that forgiveness played a big part in you being able to advance in business and also in personal life as well?
Forgiveness is never about the other person. It's about you.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I've had to learn to forgive a lot in my life.
Yeah.
And once you learn that, you can move forward.
Wow.
So it's necessary because when you hold things in and you hold on to things, they will hinder you from your blessings.
Exactly. And I think and you touched on it, that's a tweetable. The thing about it is when you think about forgiveness, for me, is I had to forgive myself. In that instance when I was dealing with those dark moments, when I was dealing with that depression, when I almost committed suicide twice. I had to forgive myself when I got to the point of being able to have a clear and concise mind. So when you're talking about forgiveness, it's not just forgiveness for others. You got to forgive yourself too, because you have to move on within yourself to actually move forward and advance.
Yes.
So in that, were there some traumatic moments that ever happened in your life where you had to actually forgive yourself?
There are several things that have happened traumatic in my life. The biggest thing I would say is some years back, my sister had an aneurysm at 24 and she passed away.
Wow.
And she had 2 children. She left, he was 5, my nephew, and my niece was 2. And then almost 4 years to date, my brother got killed in a car crash.
Wow.
Someone driving 104 miles per hour in a 40. And that court process took 10 years, literally.
Wow.
And that was in Florida. And he had just graduated with his degree in criminal justice, and it took a long time for us to get justice.
Wow.
The biggest lesson that I learned in forgiveness was that the young man who hit my brother, he was young too. My brother was 24, the young man was 26. After he went to jail, he did go to jail. He ended up doing about 9 months, roughly, after it all was said and done. He got out of jail and he started a scholarship in my brother's name at the school, FAU. And at that moment, he would write my mother, asking for forgiveness. The whole 10-year process, he never was able to contact the family because his lawyers instructed him not.
Wow.
And then when he got out, he called me. And he asked would we be open for a conversation.
I had to digest that for a minute. Wow. Forgiveness is a very powerful thing. Guys, we're going to be right back on Cafe Conversations with Mr. Know Your Worth.
I've been fortunate to live in Middle Tennessee all my life. I love the culture, the people, and the Southern traditions. People often ask, why are you so passionate about what you do? It's simple. I love people. I've been privileged to serve the Middle Tennessee area as an award-winning, top-producing realtor since 2011. My name is Gabrielle Garner, and I'm here to lead you home. Call today for your complimentary consultation.
Today's show was brought to you by Tennessee Minority Pages, your one-stop shop for minority businesses. Hey guys, welcome back to Cafe Conversations with Mr. Know Your Worth. I told you guys we had an awesome segment, awesome show with Miss Tunisia Scott. Forgiveness is a very powerful thing. And we're sitting here, like I said, with Miss Tunisia Scott. How are you doing today?
I'm wonderful.
You still here with me?
Yes, I am.
I didn't run you off?
No, you didn't.
Okay, high five. Before we went to commercial, you really, I felt it. I felt it going there. And so let's pick right back up there. You was giving a story about with your brother and that particular situation. Let's pick back up there.
The gentleman called me, and when and I speak of him like he's a person, because he's important too.
Yeah.
And I'm very careful with the words that I say.
Yeah.
A lot was taken from my family,
Wow.
but still at the same time, a lot was taken from him. And a lot of people don't understand.
Yeah.
And it's not for everyone to,
Yeah.
nor should I care, because it's my pain.
Wow.
And so he called me, and we talked. And I often asked him, you know, what were you thinking to be driving that fast?
Wow.
You know, what made you do that? And the
So
story.
you had the conversation with
Yeah,
him.
we had conversation. At this point, he did 9 months in jail, and that was not his life. And he's wondering why, you know, he was there.
Wow.
That's not how he was raised. You know, we're doing, you know, the time frame as far as the loss that we experienced. My mother had two daughters and one son.
Wow.
And so she lost her only son, and she had just lost a daughter as well.
Wow.
So it's a lot of loss. And so we had the conversation, and he explained to me why he was speeding. Not that it justifies what happened, but it's still his truth.
Wow.
And I just told him, I forgive you.
Wow.
And I'll never forget, I sent him this book called Jesus Calling. That's the
Come on
best
So so I gotta say this.
okay.
Because the thing, when you think about forgiving, you're not only trying to get through your pain and your family's pain, but in the midst of that, you're imparting into him.
I'm considering his pain too.
Oh my God, that's powerful.
I'm considering his life changed forever that day, just like ours. And it took me a long time to get there because you go through anger, you go through hurt. And there are a couple scenarios that happened that made me say, you've got to forgive because this is detrimental to your health.
Wow.
And the moment I said, I forgive you, it was like I was released.
It's like a sigh of a fresh air release. It's like I tell people that when you're in that moment of being able to change the dynamic of your course, because just think about it, if you stayed in that, just think about how the dynamic of your universe would have shifted. Because I tell people a lot of times when we move and we operate, it's more spiritual than it is physical. So you doing that and speaking those words broke down the barriers in the subconscious realm, and actually making it to a point where you shifted your universe. Wow, that's powerful. That's one of those things you just want to just sit in and just let it sink in for a minute, because the power of forgiveness, people don't really understand that.
It's everything.
And I know that had a major impact on your family too as well.
It did, because my husband got to see all of the good, the bad, and the ugly. When you go through things like that are so traumatic, it affects everyone.
Wow.
And so in saying I forgive, you know, it made me better.
Wow.
You can never be the same after experiencing some of those losses. You can try to be better. You know, I talk to him probably maybe every other month.
Wow.
And I tell him,
So
I want you.
So you're still in contact?
Still in contact.
Man.
Still, I mean, they still contact us, like they wanted to cut his probation short. And he called us first, told his lawyer, do not do that yet. I would like to talk to the family. And he considered calling us. And I told him, you know, you don't have to do that. Legally, it's time where they can put in that request. Morally, he said he needed to.
Wow.
And I said, you know, I appreciate that, but I would really like for you to live your best life. The only thing that would, I think, upset me is if you felt sorry for yourself. You don't get to feel sorry for yourself.
Wow.
And I don't blame you, not one bit, through the whole process for fighting for your life. Because had it been my brother that took yours, and he was I would have helped him fight for his. So I can't fault you for that.
Wow. So in that moment, I know, in that tragedy, I know that there was an instance where your faith, I'm pretty sure, was tested, where you wanted to give up on something. How did you shift that dynamic?
Just really diving deep into my faith, because definitely all the trauma and all of the loss test your faith. And I can remember saying to God, I'm not happy with you. And as a relationship and as his daughter, I should be able to say that. You're my father. I will never turn my back on you, but I'm not happy with you. Because I feel like if you're all knowing, all doing, all being, you could have changed this. And that clearly was not your will. That's what happened. So I'm mad at you.
Wow.
And it took a while for me to get from that place. And it's okay. I still love you. You're still my father. And I will always say that, but I'm mad.
Wow. I think that's us having that that natural dynamic with our Creator. Because I've had those moments too as well, where I was like, I'm sitting here. You're saying that this is what I'm going to do, or this is what I'm going to be, but I'm sitting here waddling in a spiritual mess. How can I get out of this spiritual mess? And that's the same thing you were saying. Like, okay, in this thing that happened, I'm waddling in a spiritual mess, in a spiritual dynamic. So with your family, how is that? I'm pretty sure you had to play a spiritual advocate for your family, even while you were hurting too. So how did you deal with that?
Oh, that was big because I come from a military family, military background, and I'll never forget the day that my brother passed. I had to go fly to Florida to see my mom, and I had just came back the day before from Florida. I was already down there, flew home, and he got killed. And I never forget getting on the plane saying, I got to go see my mom.
Wow.
Crying the whole way there, and just really saying, God, I really need you to keep me.
Wow.
He had 2 funerals, and getting up at a funeral full of young people saying, you know, where's your relationship with God? Because this is real life.
Wow.
You know, being able to say that. And then when all of that happens and, you know, you go home and family members are buried, then you deal with real life.
Yeah, it's like it's starting to really sit in.
Then you deal with real life and having some real conversations with God to say, this pain is breaking me.
Wow.
If you don't do something about it, I'm not going to survive.
Wow.
So really saying, God, I need you to step in.
Wow.
And that's how I got through.
Awesome. I love it. I always love the stories of being, or you're overcoming, and you're overcoming your pain and your triumphs too as well. And I really appreciate you sharing. So this is going to bring me into this next segment, because we always do on the show, every so often we do a segment where we it's called Ask Mr. Know Your Word.
Okay.
So it's a little fun, little change to the dynamic,
Yes.
where we always take in questions from our followers on social media.
Okay.
And so we had before the show, we actually had some questions to come in
Okay.
too as well. And so we actually got one here. Let me take a look at it. I really appreciate you guys chiming in online with us and sending in your questions. So we had this one actually come in, and I think this is a real good one.
Okay.
And I'm going to let you dive into this one first.
Okay.
It says, when you are broken yourself, how do you forgive? Wow.
When you are broken yourself, how do you forgive?
Yeah.
It's almost like you don't have any choice.
Wow.
If you want to move past that broken spot.
Wow.
And so you have to really dig deep. You have to really, for me, I had to really focus on God. Like literally, he just had to be my everything to get past that pain. Because you know, pain is real.
Pain is
real. You know, when you
just
feel
like they
it,
say the struggle is real,
pain is real. And you know, I used to say a long time ago, I often said before I knew what real pain was, when people decide that they don't want to fight anymore and they want to leave this earth, that I think that choice is not well thought out, and you don't think about those you leave behind.
Wow.
When put in the position of pain, I mean that gut-wrenching pain that you feel like you cannot breathe, I then say, okay, I understand how people make this decision if you don't keep your mind stayed on him.
Wow.
Because you can still be a Christian and decide that, oh my God, this is just too much.
Yeah.
It's just losing that focus of, I have to focus on God because that's the only thing that's going to get me through.
Exactly, because when you think about it, like I said, I really appreciate you guys sending in your questions. But when you think about it, when you're broken, it's like your judgment is clouded. You don't really see anything else. You're really just looking at the fact of like, I want to waddle in this. And the thing about it is, I tell people that unless you actually speak those words and put it out into the atmosphere, put it into the universe, and let it sit, plant that seed, just like you did when you said, I forgive you. You planted a seed where now you can actually start your healing. Because we have to go through that process of healing. We have to go through the process of us dealing with our pain, dealing with our hurt too as well. I love it. I love it. So the Tennessee Minority page, tell everybody where they can actually get in contact with you. If they want to get information about the magazine, or if they want to be a sponsor or be a partner with you, where can they find you?
Well, we're super excited. We have an office located in Nashville at 1451 Elm Hill Pike, Suite 313, Nashville, Tennessee. As well, they can find us on the internet, www.tnminoritypages.com.
Wow.
And social media platforms, TN Minority PGS, and that is Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Well, Tunisia Scott, I love it. I really appreciate you coming out, sharing your story, sharing your time with us. I really appreciate it too as well.
Not
I
a
appreciate
problem.
you for coming on.
Thank you.
Guys, I appreciate you for tuning in to Cafe Conversations with Aaron Jordan, Mr. Know Your Worth.
What's up, guys? This is your boy Aaron Jordan, Mr. Know Your Worth himself, your relationship coach. I created a course called Revamp. It's an online workshop relationship course geared toward helping people to understand who they are, whose they are, and what they are when it comes to relationships, dating, personal development, or as an individual before you even think about getting back into a relationship. In this course, I tap on the fact of helping you to understand 5 key principles that you must learn, that you must articulate, or that you must exemplify before you get to the point of being able to love someone else. There's so much information that I could cover right now in this video, but guys, go to my website and get the course. It's aaronjordanjr.com/revamp. You do not want to miss this, guys. Understand and know that your worth is undeniable and your value is priceless.
I've been fortunate to live in Middle Tennessee all my life. I love the culture, the people, and the Southern traditions. People often ask, why are you so passionate about what you do? It's simple. I love people. I've been privileged to serve the Middle Tennessee area as an award-winning, top-producing realtor since 2011. My name is Gabrielle Garner, and I'm here to lead you home. Call today for your complimentary consultation.
Today's show was brought to you by Tennessee Minority Pages, your one-stop shop for minority businesses. Today's Ask Mr. Know Your Worth segment was brought to you by Out There Clothing, your one-stop shop for your everyday comfortable wear.